JP,
What's happening, Ashby?
how we doing?
I'm probably a little bit better off than you, considering you've been on the road all day.
Oh my goodness. I drove home from Alabama today, and usually my drive is like 4 hours, right on it. If there's traffic, no more than 4.5. Took me 7 today. So, would not recommend going through Atlanta today.
I had to drive to Charleston and back today, and the traffic was hellacious. So
I wonder
it's
what was
it
going
must
on.
be everywhere.
Man, I don't know. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, this is great. Leaving my house at 12:30 Eastern, which is 11:30 my time, and got back about 10 minutes ago. So it's all good.
Just in the nick of time.
In the nick of time. Just ready for today. I will tell you though, while our intro was playing, um, freshman on Clemson softball team hit a grand slam to help the Tigers lead 7-4, bottom of the sixth.
And when I hit the stream button, they were losing. Just like that, you just never know.
You never know. Only one out too, so excited about that. Go Tigers softball.
Yeah, that's a single elimination. You don't want to lose the first one and go home,
Mm-mm.
especially when you're fight. They're kind of playing for. They want to be a host. They want to host a regional, go up there and have a good showing, and they're going to be in pretty good shape.
It's looking like they're going to host a regional, and I think they're in the conversation to host a super regional at this point, which would be pretty exciting. They won 17 of their last 19, something crazy. So they're on a roll.
And that's actually it's a really good story. You cover them and follow them much more closely than I do, but after the start they got off to, I think a lot of people would kind of, maybe after those first couple of tournaments, particularly that first one, some people had kind of written them off, and Rittman's kind of put that thing back together, and like you just said, they are on a heater right now, as Eric Backus likes to say, and you want to be playing your best as you head into the postseason, and they just might be playing at their best at the right time.
I think they might be. They lost so much talent last year, like about a billion home runs, and their freshmen have stepped up and they've been really, really good. So I'm excited for them. It's definitely good to see one of Clemson's teams right now seems like peaking.
Took the words right out of my mouth. at least at least one of the round ball, round bat teams are heading in the right direction as the postseason rapidly approaches.
Oh goodness. Well, we got a lot to break down with the other round ball, round bat team. But before we get started, want to go ahead and thank our sponsor, Shorty and Goose's Driving School, your one-stop driving shop. They have many years of experience and pride themselves on being a small family business rather than just a business. They offer everything, including permit testing, first-time driver's training courses, driver's license testing, and defensive driving courses to lower insurance costs and point reductions. Call or text Freddie at 843-495-0741 to find out how Freddie and Liz can help you. Well, JP, it's been an interesting week for Clemson baseball.
And we both said that we were going to be having a whole different conversation come this week. I don't think we are.
Well, we're having a similar conversation, but in a little bit of a worse way, I would say.
That's why I named tonight's episode "Rinse and Repeat," because that feels like the state we are in right now. Rinse and repeat. I can't even remember the last time I covered a game they won. The last time I covered a game that the baseball team won was the series finale against Louisville. The two times they've won since then, Will's covered. Well, actually, you covered one of them. Will covered one of them.
I was there for their last home game.
Georgia.
Win. Yes. It's been an interesting stretch for these Clemson Tigers. I think that while last weekend was frustrating at NC State because it felt like they couldn't do anything, for me, this weekend felt more frustrating to watch because it felt like they had chances to win and couldn't pull it out.
I thought you can make the argument or easily make the argument that they gave game one away. That's the
Absolutely.
game that I mean. I'm not even talking about the blown save. You're going to have a closer blow a save from time to time, and he
It's
was
not
kind
going
of
to.
he was kind of due to blow one. He hadn't blew one all season long. Sorry about that. He hadn't blown one all season long, so he's kind of due. But Clemson had some opportunities to put more runs on the board than they did. Just some mental mistakes, getting picked off at second, by Josh Pano probably being one of the bigger ones. Um, Not being able to score on a sack fly. Matter of fact, that turning into a double play. Just all kinds of things. And then they finally take the lead late in that game, and you go to your closer. You think you've got it. He gives up 2 runs. Then you go right back out and give him the lead again. They send him back out, and he gives it right back up. Um, and Eric Beckett's kind of went all in on that game. Take Mostad out, send B.J. Bailey in, knowing, hey, this is my Sunday starter, man. I'm burning him up right here. It's kind of went all. That was a big gamble, and if Clemson wins that game, nobody's talking about it because they win the series and nobody cares what happens on Sunday. But they didn't. Did rebound to win game 2, but then when you get to game 3, you've kind of burned everybody up. All you have left really is Talon Bell, who's never gone on the road and pitched in that kind of environment. He was great against Georgia at home, but this was by far the biggest moment you put him in, and moment looked a little too big. And then after that, you send B.J. Bailey right back out there. He's not nearly as sharp. It's only the second time all season. He's pitched twice in the same weekend. And then after that, you kind of just ran out of options, and it started to get away from them the deeper they got into that bullpen. But yeah, I'm with you. That one, like you said, the North Carolina State one was just one of those things where nothing went right. They just got dominated that weekend. But this one, it felt like two teams that were more evenly matched, and it felt like a series they should have won.
It felt like they gave the series away in a lot of ways. Like what you were saying with putting BJ Bailey in, and even on Sunday I was watching it and they cut it 11-9, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is the team that we know and loved, and then bullpen ran out of juice. There was nothing there. And I think that was a frustrating way to end a weekend.
Yeah, not only that, I was in Conway last night at that game, or was that last night before last? Excuse me, my days are running together on me. But I'm wondering if the way they came back in that last game, you're down 10-0, almost instantly. 10-0 after 3 innings. You pull to within 11-9. Everything's going your way. And then all of a sudden, you just don't have anybody you can turn to out there that is going to go out and put zeros up. I thought Wentworth pitched pretty well while he was out there, and he did give up a long ball, but the guy hit a good pitch and kind of one-handed it out to left. But other than that, I mean, they just didn't really have anybody left. But the way as much emotion that went into that comeback, and then for Florida State to just kind of pull away and put their foot on your neck and win 20-9 anyways, it seemed like it took a lot of steam out of their sails, if you will. There was not a lot of energy in the dugout Tuesday night, and I didn't notice it at first because I wasn't really paying attention to that. I had a friend of mine that was there. He texted me pretty early in the game, and he said he texted me about the lack of energy in the dugout, so I started paying attention, and he was on to something. It just seemed like something was off, and now feels like a very good time for those guys to get back home, maybe in front of the home crowd. But there's just not a lot going right for them. I think I might have talked about this last week, how it's just a snowball going down a hill, and it gets the more it rolls, the bigger it gets, the harder it is to stop. These guys just need a win. 2 weeks ago, everybody's got them locked in as a national seed, and now you don't even know if you're going to host at this point. You've got to finish strong if you just want to host. You got to finish extremely strong if you want to be a national seed. I mean, that's still on the table, but they got a lot of work to do to get there. But right now, they don't need to worry about any of that stuff. They need to worry about getting a win on Friday. They just need one win. They need some things to go right, get one win, kind of stop that snowball from going down that hill.
I think momentum is so much of it, like what you were talking about, and with the snowball. And I think it also hurt when you come back after that tough 11 inning game on Friday, find a way to get a win in a game that goes over 2 days. You have a little league home run, crazy play from Cam, and then Reed secures that win on Sunday morning or afternoon. And then I think everybody's thinking, okay, here's momentum, here we go. And then I think to not get that win after that was also tough. And then also you go to Coastal and, I'm seeing videos all over social media of Coastal fans up by the visitor bullpen and, taunting Michael Gillen and all this stuff. And when you're already not really coming together how you want to, I think that's probably some of the energy just being gone. It's like, man, this has been a rough stretch. And so I think you're right. Getting home, getting a win at home, they need that like they need air right now. This team does.
They need a win in a bad way. And, that unfortunately, it's not it doesn't get any easier. I know you're coming back home, but Duke rolls into town. That's a team. They're tied for sixth with each other in the ACC standings. Duke and Clemson. Clemson still got a shot at one of those double byes, but right now you're trying to hold on for at least a single bye. And Duke's one of those teams you're fighting for one of those spots. So that just adds another layer to it. But this is a good Duke team. I know they're not ranked, but they got a strong RPI. They're going to be a tournament team. This is not going to be an easy task. They got to find a way to flush what happened on that road trip or the last 2 weekends while they've been on the road. I know it wasn't one long trip. I get that. So don't anybody hold me to that literally. They got to find a way to flush that stuff, man. And you talked about the momentum a minute ago. Momentum's a tricky thing. If it's the momentum, if you got it on your side, man, it's good. But again, if it's building and building and building and it's going against you, it's tough to stop sometimes. And these guys are having a hard time, pushing against that and responding to this adversity they are faced with right now. And how many times do we hear Eric Bakich in the preseason say, I want to see my team get punched in the mouth and see how they respond, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they were so good at it, over the first 2/3 of the season. And now here they hit a lull where they just can't get out of it. And it's gotten to a point now where Tuesday night he's starting to talk about we need to raise our level of compete. That's what he said. After getting swept in Raleigh, he makes it a point to say, I had no problems with the way we competed. I thought we competed hard, just baseball. No media down there in Tallahassee, so he didn't really say a lot after those games. But he made it a point to say Tuesday night we've got to raise our level of compete. And that tells me
last time we've heard him say anything like that.
No, it stuck out to me. So I asked him, what specifically he meant. He was mostly talking about at the plate. We'll have an inning where we're good. We'll take some good swings and get some guys on base, or even the outs or hard outs. He said, then we'll have a couple innings where it's just swinging at bad pitches, swinging at a pitcher's pitch with less than 2 strikes, whatever it is. But he was mostly talking about the plate discipline, over the past couple of games. And we talked about it last week. I thought we thought there were some guys that were starting to press. And I think the more they start to press, the worse the plate discipline is. And that leads to a lack of results.
Well, also wanted to bring up this, excluding Jeremy Purify, who's been out. Everybody in the lineup this past weekend is hitting below 300, which is not In the last 2 years, I went and looked. At the end of the season, you had 6 guys both years over 300. And you
Told
look
you
at
you had to
that.
go back to the Monty days for that.
I need to go. I think I would need to go. Yeah, it'd be several years. But when you look at that, you look at it and you think that this is a team that is not does not have the record that they do. It looks like a 500 team on paper on that side of things.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see so many people griping about the pitching. I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been exceptions. Like Sunday, the pitching was not good enough, but you
You
had to
have
go
to give
so
your
deep into the
bullpen
bullpen.
and your pitchers a chance.
But yeah, I mean, you were going so deep into the bullpen. I mean, those were guys that have getting lit up all year, the limited opportunities they've had. But for the most part, the pitching's been good enough to win. The pitching was good enough last Friday. The pitching was good enough Saturday. The pitching was good enough even last or Tuesday night in Conway. I still think that's last night.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, you only give up 5 runs um, against the guys that Coastal ran out there that night. That is a game you should win. They didn't run out their best pitchers. I know the first 3 pitchers that they ran out there Tuesday night, none of them were even hitting 90 on the gun. I mean, it's not like they're sitting there overpowering you, and these hitters are making those guys look like Cy Young. Um, there's a disconnect somewhere, and you start to wonder where it is. If it's maybe even deeper than guys starting to press too much or something. Maybe there's a disconnect in that clubhouse or something. Who knows? We could theorize all day long, but at the end of the day, you're sitting here 6 games left and talking to somebody up there Tuesday night. He said we got to go 5-1 and win at least one in the tournament if we won't even have a chance of being a national seed. He said anything worse than 4-2, and we're probably going on the road for regionals. So I mean, there's
What a
there's
quick
no more
turnaround.
margin. There's no more margin for error here.
No, you exhausted that. I think they were ranked number 2 in the country after Georgia game, before the Georgia game, and then have gone 2-6. No matter how high you started at the beginning of that, like that's going to hurt you, especially when it's this point in the season. And I hate to see that, but I think they have a chance to turn it around this week, especially home games, home crowd, like you were talking about. But it's going to take people it's going to have to take people stepping up. And I think you've got to give the strength of this team is the bullpen for the most part, has been all season with Reed, Lucas Malstead. You got to give them a chance to be in a position to do well. And they were on Friday night, right? But you got to go back to how you were at the beginning of the season with those long at-bats, those 9-10 pitch ABs. You've got to get back to that. And that's why this team was winning, a large part of it. And you got to get back to having that play discipline.
And you get Purify back this weekend. He looked like he was ready to roll Tuesday night. He was taking the infield, no boot or anything. He looked like he'll be ready to go this weekend. I had a lot of people ask me. I bet I had a half a dozen people ask me over the weekend, why is Jay Dillard playing and not Tristan McClatty? People got short memories, I guess, because that's pretty self-explanatory. Make no mistake, man. McClatty, he provides a spark some days when he's in there. He was the only guy worth a cuss in the lineup Tuesday night. That hustle play at first. I mean, that's the kind of stuff he brings to the table. But he's also the guy that forgot how many outs there was in the outfield, cost the team a run or two. He's also a guy that got picked off. When was it? I forget when it was here recently, and in a big moment. That's not the first time. I think it happened in the Supers last year too, if I'm remembering right. He's failed to get down a bunt 2 times. I mean, just it's little things, it's mental lapses, and that's why Jay Dillard got the opportunity over the weekend over McClatty because of some of those mental lapses. But when you're scrapping as hard as this team's scrapping and you're pushing up against it as hard as they are pushing up against it right now, you start looking for answers anywhere. You might have to overlook some of those mental lapses and find a way to get a guy like McClatty who make no mistake, man, he provides a spark sometimes. He's just kind of that guy. and give him opportunities because Crichton, he's kind of streaky, right? He's good when he's good. When he's not, he's not. He's kind of been on one of those streaks where he's not been so good of late. Maybe roll McClatty back out there in right field and see what he can do. But you see the coaching staff doing what they can to kind of turn this thing around. They tinker with the lineup. Some of it's kind of been a little unconventional, but no matter what you do with the lineup, the guys is I
Still the
don't care if
same.
if you're hitting first, third, fifth, you gotta put the ball in play. And some of it's just baseball. I'm sitting there watching the TrackMan the other night, and I've counted at least, I think it was 5 balls that came off the bat 99 mile per hour or harder. One of them was 108 off the bat, and all of them were outs. Every single one of them were outs. Their
How
center
often do you have that?
their center fielder had a heck of a night. He made 3 outstanding plays in the outfield that took sure doubles away. Priest hit 2 to the deepest part of the park that would have been out in most every other park. He was the one that hit it 108 off the bat, and it got caught out there at the top of the wall. But, again, I should say some of it's just baseball. Just like I said last week, Coastal had a hit that was 79 off the bat. It drives in a run, 79 off the bat.
And I
But
think those are the types of things that make it feel discouraging. Stuff like that where it's like I'm making contact. That's a hit anywhere else. It's a home run anywhere else. So I understand that. But I will say as a positive, we've talked about seeing flashes from guys. I think Cam had a really good weekend for the most part, and I like him in that leadoff spot. What do you
yeah,
think about that?
he seems like he's coming out of it. If to me, we're splitting hairs, man. To me, whether he's 1 or 2, it doesn't really matter. Listy, if he's going to come out of it and be the Cam of old, I like him in the 2 hole personally. I don't hate him in the 1 hole. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind him in the leadoff spot at all. But if you got a guy like Listy who's got a on base percentage of 500 or over or whatever it is, I like having a guy like Canarella behind him. Canarella's just not had the season that we all envisioned. But if he starts to come on and Listy comes out of it a little bit or continues to get on the bases at the clip he is now, I think we're splitting hairs, but it does. I don't know whether it's coincidence or the move up to the leadoff spot has done it or what, but he does. He is starting to. He's putting better contact on the ball. Even some of his outs are hit hard or hit right at somebody. So, I like it either way. I like him in either one of spots, to be honest.
All right, JP. Moving forward, looking ahead for everybody that wants to stop thinking about the last 2 weekends. What's your prediction? What do you think the biggest keys are to getting a series win?
First and foremost, apparently my clone's coming to DKS. I get hit with that every time Duke comes to town.
I can see it. I can see it.
Man, he's got way more grade than I got. Nah. And apologies, we're going to cut this one short tonight. I got somewhere to go, but every fiber of my being is telling me not to pick Clemson to win this weekend. Every fiber of my being is telling me that. But I think they're going to win 2 out of 3. I don't think they're going to sweep. I think they're going to win 2 out of 3. I don't know who's going to be the hero. I think Aiden Canuck will be one tomorrow night. After that, I don't know. You got a good start. You got a good enough start out of Titsworth and Tallahassee. Just needs to give you more of that. Again, like we said a minute ago, the pitching was plenty good enough in 2 of those games. As long as you don't stretch them out, you should be good to go. As long as you don't exhaust your bullpen in 2 days. But I don't know. I just think there's going to be a guy or two that kind of leads the way at the plate, so to speak. Maybe a guy like McClatty who's kind of been itching for another opportunity. He's been in the doghouse a couple of times this season, been riding the pine. Maybe Tuesday night earned him. Because that play at first, man, that was a heck of a play. He stretched out and he was safe. That was a heck of a hustle play.
It's one of the best hustle plays we've seen in feels
Yeah,
like
I
a
mean,
hot minute.
those are the kind of things you have to do to kind of earn your way out of the doghouse. Um, so maybe he gets another opportunity and kind of ignites the spark, and Canarella keeps it going the way he's been. I mean, I know he hadn't been red hot, but he's making good contact. When he's making good contact, some of those balls are going to start to find holes.
Good things happen.
Yeah, and Priest kind of keeps kind of chugging along. He's up to 10 or 11 home runs now or whatever it is. And maybe getting Purified back helps too. When he gets on base, he's extremely aggressive and he can make things happen for you. But I don't know. I again, like I said, every fiber of my being is telling me not to do it, but I'm taking Clemson 2 out of 3.
I'm taking the Tigers 2 out of 3 as well. I think they're itching for a win. They're all competitive. You're at home. You got the home crowd. I think they turn it around. I don't think they sweep, but I think somebody's going to lead the way. I think the pitching's going to be good. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Lucas Malstead have a killer weekend, and I think they get back in the win column this weekend.
If they can get 7 innings out of Canuck on Friday, which is he's not done very often this year, he's teams are making him earn it a little bit more, so his pitch count goes up a little bit quicker. But if they can get into the 7th, or if he can get into the 7th, and them not to have to use 3 or 4 guys out of that pen Friday, I like their chances. Maybe even possibly taking all 3 of these games, because then you have your Sunday starter still left there that you're not burning up on a Friday.
JP, let's focus on getting the one win first before we're talking about a sweep.
I'm just saying the potential's there. I'm still going 2 out of 3, but it's to me. I say it every week. It starts with what Connacht gives you on Friday nights, and the way the offense is right now. He doesn't need to go out and give up 4 or 5. He needs to hold them to 3 or less, and I think he will. Outside of that one start at North Carolina State, he's been pretty good this year. I mean, he was really good Friday against Jamie Arnold. That was every bit of the pitching matchup I thought it would be. Somebody's saying teams have figured out his changeup. I don't know if that's the case. The numbers suggest otherwise. But still, yeah, I'm going 2 out of 3. I think Clemson's gonna find their mojo this weekend. Every fiber of my being is telling me not to say it, but I'm going to go with my heart on this one. 2 out of 3, Clemson.
I like it, JP. Well, hopefully we're sitting here next week. Again, I'll say it, having a different conversation. And I'm excited to see what the Tigers do this weekend. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. And thank you to our sponsor, Shorty and Goose's Driving School, for helping us make this show possible. Make sure you're subscribed to the Clemson Insider, and we will see you guys next week.
Right back here, 7 p.m.